Welcome to Podnutz Pro, show number 38. This is the show where we take you from being that home PC tech where you can support small businesses, everything from routers to firewalls and servers and bears. Oh my. Here we have Mr. Matt Rainey, the co-host of the show. How you doing, man?
Doing good, Lalo. How about you?
Hey, man, I'm doing okay, man. It's Thanksgiving week, or Thanksgiving is tomorrow, but if you are downloading this after the show was released, we hope that you had a good Thanksgiving. And I love this week of the year because everybody's like relaxed, got family over, got football, got turkey. But then,
Yes.
like the Monday after is all the projects that I never got done. Why is this not done? Because we had 2 days off last week, then maybe, I don't know.
Or 2.5. We shut down early today too. So yeah, I like it. It's better than Christmas because there's none of the president stuff, and you can just watch football and eat.
Exactly. I agree.
That's what holidays are about.
I agree, my friend. All right, man. So what will we be talking today about?
Well, it's something that you usually don't have to worry about in business support, but I've been seeing this more and more as everybody uses iPhones, iPads, and with the new release of iOS 5, you have to have the latest version of iTunes. And again, normally I don't worry about this because it hasn't been a big deal, but I've been having clients calling me saying they can't install the latest version of iTunes. Have you come across that at all?
No, well, because we do have iPads at work for, I guess for corporate use, but we upgrade the software in our schedule, so no one can actually have the rights to upgrade the iTunes. So no, we haven't seen this.
So I got it the first time a few weeks ago, right when iOS 5 came out, and what happens is you go to either the Apple software update or you download the latest version of iTunes, 10.5 point something, and it goes through almost the whole install, and then it fails. It just says something about the Windows installer package. It failed to install.
Now, are there any prereqs that they want, or?
No, it's fine. I checked that before, but there's not exactly a lot of information in that message. So if you go into the event log, of course you'll see. I think it's the application event log, the actual error, and the actual error relates to Apple software update is trying to unregister and uninstall because with the new iTunes, the new Apple software update is installed as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I was seeing. So and I verified this. Like you go to Add or Move Programs and go find Apple software update and try and uninstall it, and you get the same message you would get, or something similar that
Okay.
you would get when you're installing iTunes. So that's definitely the culprit. And it's not just once or twice. I've come across this in the past couple weeks, maybe 5 or 6 times, where it's the same problem. Apple software update is corrupted and it will not uninstall.
And like the one thing about the iTunes installer, it just seems to take forever to complete.
And that's because there's a lot of components to it. It says iTunes, but it's other things
Right.
as well. Apple software update and this kind of stuff. So
I think like the next time I have to do it, I'm gonna use the system internals process monitor and just watch that thing just fly off the screen of all the different things it's doing. Okay, so is there a resolution to the iTunes issue?
there is, and I searched Google for this, and it seems it's a common problem. Now, the way I fixed it is I mean, you may have heard, of course, of the Windows cleanup utility. Probably used it in the past, right?
Yes.
Well, they don't have that anymore. That's gone. Uh, what they have now is I think it's called Program Install and Uninstall Troubleshooter. It doesn't roll off the tongue like MSI cleanup utility, but if you look under Microsoft Support Knowledge Base, it's Knowledge Base Article 243
243.
8651.
Okay.
And on here, it's kind of like one of those fix-it things. You install this and you run it, and what it does, you can run it right from the executable, and it says, are you having a problem installing or uninstalling something? Now, I guess you could pick either one because really, I'm trying to install iTunes, but it's failing uninstalling the old part.
Right.
So the first time I did, I just picked, I'm having trouble installing something, and then it gives you a list of all the things. No, I'm sorry. I did uninstall, and I picked the list of the thing I was having trouble. In this case, I picked Apple Software Update, and it went through and it did a few things, and it said, okay, it's done now, and that worked. When I ran the installer next, everything installed fine. Unfortunately, that only worked once. The next times I tried to do this, it didn't work. It was definitely easier than the other things. So since this didn't work on the other ones, I had to use Revo Uninstaller. Have you used that before?
Yes, I have used that before.
Now they have a new version out. It used to be, I believe, completely free. Well, the new version, there's a free version and there's a professional version, and they do different things. Or one of them has more features.
Okay.
So I used Revo Uninstaller and it was no problem. It pulled this thing out. I did a deep scan, pulled everything out. It was gone from add and remove programs, and then I could install iTunes without a problem. These were all on Windows XP computers also.
Okay.
But from the searching I've done online, this is a common problem. Now, Revo Uninstaller, I had a copy of the old version that was completely free, so I didn't use the new one that was free. And I did do the deep scanning with the old one that I had laying around. Of course, if you have Windows 7, I think you'll need the new one because I don't think the old one is compatible with Windows 7. But this Fix-It, that's my first choice, to run this knowledge base article. And the first one I did worked like a charm.
And what's the knowledge base article one more time, sir?
That was 243-8651.
Gotcha. Okay, I got it.
And these Microsoft Fix-Its, I've seen a lot of these coming out lately, and they're actually seem to work for the most part.
I will say that I have used them at work also when, when I want to give it a shot, when I know it just modifies the registry or does minor things, and it does seem to work many times.
There's one I used this past week to import an NK2 file to Outlook 2010. And that worked pretty well. I mean, normally you can, of course, there's some things you have to do if you don't want to use the Fix-It. I know this is off the topic, but that's a common problem if you're moving to Outlook 2010, you have an NK2 file, you import that, and then it goes to suggested contacts
now
in Outlook 2010.
Now, for folks that don't know what that file does or the importance of that file, what is it?
That's all the things when you type.
Right.
It autofills. So
you got it.
You don't have them in contacts. You've just typed them before, so it remembers. So a lot of people, they think that's their contacts.
Right.
Their contacts are empty, but they have. I've seen NK2 files as 600K, which is pretty big for an NK2 file.
Yes, and it sure is. And for those of y'all that are backing up any software for client end, for small business, or if you work in a networking environment, during my Windows 7 migration, that's one of the files that we do back up. I mean, we actually migrate the whole Outlook profile, but that's the number one thing that people check for when they log into on their machines. They see if all their Outlook Complete is there.
Mm-hmm.
So
now, thankfully, with Outlook 2010, once you import this NK2 file, it's actually part of your mailbox now if you're using Exchange, because it goes into suggested contacts. So they're actually visible, not just when you start typing in the address. But there's so if you want to import that without the Fix-It, of course you got to you got to do certain things like make sure the NK2 file is named. Let's say your Outlook profile is Outlook, so your Outlook profile will be Outlook.nk2. It's got to match the Outlook profile. It's got to be in a certain folder, and you've got to just go to command prompt and type in a command to open Outlook saying import this. But there's a Fix-It. So if you run the Fix-It, and I don't have that knowledge base article with me, but if you just search for import NK2 Outlook 2010, one of the top hits is a Fix-It article from Microsoft, and you run this, and it just says, "Where's your NK2 file?" You point it to your NK2 file, and it pulls it into your Outlook. profile.
Neat. I think I just found it. I'll put the link in the chat room. And if you scroll to the bottom here, there is a. It fits it with the cool little gadget guy.
Yep.
At least I like the icon.
Yeah, and these things work pretty good. Now, and the only reason I didn't do the import manually is because this guy has some crazy long Outlook profile name. Normally it's Outlook or default or something, but he had something. It must have been 40 or 50 characters long. It had I don't know how he named his profile that, but I didn't feel like renaming the Outlook NK2 and doing that. I just pasted this into his browser, ran it, and said, "Here's my NK2 file," and that was done. But anyway, that's
Okay.
iTunes. That's common, so be on the lookout for that.
One thing about that, I will say, I'm not gonna turn this to a Droid Apple thing. I like the fact that, man, if I have my Android, I can just plug it in, and it mounts as a USB drive. Very beautiful. When I do it, fireworks go off, and Angel gets his wings. Apparently, I have to go to the iTunes store, even if I want to do my laundry. Apparently, it has to pass to the iTunes store.
Well, I mean, you mean hook to a computer, be tied to iTunes?
Well, as far as like the iPad, you can just mount as a USB drive. You know, yes, there if you jailbreak it, and there's other things that you can do, but stock it can't be done.
Well, the new OS, you can do. It can not be tied to iTunes. You can do it all over with iCloud, but I still prefer to sync mine to my computer. It's faster.
But you still haven't answered the question that you cannot mount it as a USB device.
No, I can't. I can't mount it as a USB.
Okay.
I can load an app on there and do some things with that without jailbreaking. It's not the same as mounting it. No.
Okay, I feel a lot better that you acknowledge that.
No, and
Okay.
I haven't tried to connect my Kindle Fire to my computer. I wonder what it would do.
Hmm.
I'm sorry. I say my Kindle Fire. It's my wife's Kindle Fire, and she really likes it. By the way.
Sweet, man.
So being lookout for iTunes, I've seen it more than I get. I think I've gotten a couple of these a week for the past since iOS 5 came out.
Okay, so you stated what version of iTunes?
It's going to so if they try and update to mainly you see it when somebody has an iPhone 4 and they're trying to go to iOS 5. So if to update to iOS 5, you have to have the latest version of iTunes. So that's usually when you see it when they're trying to get that, so they can then upgrade their phone.
Okay.
So other than that, Apple stuff works flawlessly.
Bing. All right, man. Cool. What's next on the good old agenda?
So I think we have an email we can talk about. We got a couple of things with this email.
Is it the one in regard to the spreadsheet?
Yes.
Okay. This is from John Campbell. Matt, do you have a spreadsheet that you use to determine which server a company needs? For example, if a company is less than 10 users, they would use a server. Server A, but if they have 11 to 50 users, would you suggest server B? I asked that because I've been asked to look at a new client that may require a server, but I want to ensure I don't under or overquote them in terms of server power, etc., and performance. So do you have a good, better, best option, or?
No.
Okay.
No. What we do is it's more about why they need a server, because some companies might have 7-8 users and they don't need a server because there's no applications that they need. They don't have much data. They're not hosting their mailings on site. Some companies have 4 users and have a server because they have certain software that they need to run, which requires a dedicated server. So there's really no basic computer we have. We have a server that we normally sell, and then it's just a matter of if it needs 2 processors, if it needs more arrays, if it needs more RAM, and that's mainly dependent on what they're going to be doing with the server. Let's say somebody with 50 users who's doing their own exchange, they might need an array just for exchange. They may need more RAM in that machine if this one server is doing exchange plus Active Directory plus file sharing. It really depends on the applications that they're running.
Okay, so you pretty much have a